So I've been on the record saying the Galaxy S25 Ultra is my favorite phone this year, but it comes at a price, a hefty one at $1,300. This is the Galaxy S25 FE. It comes in at nearly half the price and still packs more than half the features than most people care about. Things like a premium armor aluminum build, a large and bright 120Hz display, and of course a triple camera setup. The FE starts at $650 with 8GB of RAM and 128GB of storage. The S25 Ultra starts at 12GB of RAM and 256GB of storage. In the hand, both phones feel surprisingly similar. And the funny thing is, when I think about the S25 Ultra compared to the regular S25, I actually feel like the FE is closer to the Ultra, mostly because of the build and design. When I look at the FE's display next to my Ultra, I don't see a huge difference in quality. Sure, the Ultra screen is bigger at 6.9 inches versus 6.7, and it does have a sharper QHD Plus resolution compared to the FE's FHD Plus. The Ultra has also adaptive refresh up to 144Hz with LTPO, while the FE maxes out at 120Hz. And yet, the Ultra has a higher DPI as well. But honestly, that's tough to notice in real-world usage. What I really love is the anti-glare coating on the Ultra, and it makes using the phone outside or under bright lights way easier, and the scratch resistant is legit. I've been pretty careless with my S25 Ultra, running without a screen protector this whole time, and the screen still looks flawless. When it comes to brightness, they're the same. They both hit 2600 nits of peak brightness, and so all this being said, unless you're into high-end mobile gaming or you're pretty rough on your phones, you won't really notice a difference between both of those in most situations. Camera is another area where the Ultra shines, but I couldn't fully test the FE since I was in controlled environment for just a few hours. On paper though, the difference is clear. The S25 Ultra has Samsung's signature camera setup with a 200 megapixel main sensor, a 50 megapixel ultra wide, and a 10 megapixel telephoto with a 3x optical zoom. And then we have a 50 megapixel periscope lens with a 5x optical zoom. The S25 FE keeps it similar with a 50 megapixel main sensor, 12 megapixel ultra wide, 8 megapixel telephoto with 3x optical zoom. It also has smaller apertures across the board, so it won't be as bright in low light, and also you'll have less depth of field when you're comparing it to the Ultra. But if you're not going heavy on zoom or wide angle creative shots or low light photography, the FE camera system will keep most people happy because it's most likely the best camera that you currently have in your pocket. The processors are another big difference again. The Ultra has a Snapdragon 8 Gen 4 for Galaxy, and that's the fastest chip out right now. It's an absolute champ with anything you do. I've talked about it in the full video, so make sure you check that out. The FE, on the other hand, uses Samsung's own chip, the Exynos 2400. And I would say this chip is solid for most users, but it doesn't hit the same performance levels as the Snapdragon chip. So if you're into gaming or high intense applications, the Ultra is going to be the best bet for that. But basic usage, normal usage, the FE once again will be able to do that. The Ultra also has a built-in S Pen where the FE doesn't have it at all. But to me, that's a wash. I don't use the S Pen at all, and honestly, I don't know anyone who actually does. Where these phones both match is longevity and support. Both phones are promised 7 years of OS upgrades and security patches. And that makes the $650 FE sound even better because your investment will actually last a long time. And with everything going AI, the FE doesn't get left behind. It's built with Galaxy AI in mind, so future updates will keep it feeling current for years to come. And so that's the breakdown between both of these phones. The Ultra is still king, no doubt. But you gotta give FE some love. It may not be an Ultra, but it's still pretty dang good.